about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact, download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.
Strand Podcast.
We are Melanie
and Ian
from ET Connections on YouTube and mountain-gate.com.
And you're listening to the Alien Strand Podcast with Donald Ledesma.
Catch us on YouTube and hit like and subscribe. We'll see you there.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to today's show. Yeah, we've been waiting for this one. Yes, we have. So, hope you guys are out there listening to me live right now. So, our live is going to be coming out to an end, all right? So, by the 31st of December, we will not be able to go live anymore. It's just going to be all pre-recorded. But if you're now listening right now live, I thank you and I appreciate it. And appreciate everyone that's out there listening to the podcast as we try to get as much information out there as possible on ufology, everything of the unknown, man. Bigfoot, like today we're going to talk about near-death experiences as well. So, and we're probably going to dive deep into a different kind of rabbit hole, but we're going to get down there, and that way you guys can understand exactly what's going on. Now, remember, follow us on all these Instagram, all these platforms that we have. Just go to where it says all my links at the end of this podcast today, and you'll be able to see everything from Alien Strand, all of our films, everything that has to do with Alien Strand will be there. Social media, everything is there, okay? And, you know, when you're new to ufology, well, welcome to ufology and welcome to everything of the unknown, right? Especially up in the sky, below our feet, and we are in the middle. That's why we make these films, the middle. That's exactly what it means. We are in the middle because we get to see these things above our heads in the skies, and they come from below our feet in caves and underground and caverns and all that good stuff that comes along with it, right? So we've been talking a lot about, of course, the things that have been happening down there in the New Jersey area. I did a few podcasts. If you listen to it, of course, the one that I did prior to this one, it had on the 12-minute mark, it went dead on me for a bit, but it's okay. We were able to get, the information out there. It only goes dead for a minute, and then it goes right back on. You can actually hear the audio that's coming out of it, right? And which is cool, man. I'm glad I was able to do that. I wouldn't be able to recover everything, but we still got the good stuff out there. But I will have another podcast coming out here soon. And this was going to be, like I said, I'm going to dive into that rabbit hole as well in the New Jersey area. And we're going to be getting a lot of that information to you, which is it's I don't know, man. I hate to be a conspiracy theorist kind of person, but I might have to. Hello. It is what it is, right? But anyway, without further ado, we're going to talk to Mr. Don Rogers and his wife, Canadian Spinja. We're going to bring him on board right now, and that way we can have a nice conversation about the things that have been happening with them up in the Canadian area, right? And their stories, right? So here we go. All right, Don, you there?
Hey, Donald. Thank you for having us on.
Yes, not a problem. Thank you guys for. I know we had a couple of scheduling issues, but it's okay. It's all right. That's not nothing wrong with that. We were still able to get this on board. How you guys been doing out there?
Oh, not too bad. I just want to say again, thank you for having us on, because it doesn't matter if it's on a podcast or shooting this shit back and forth on Facebook. I always enjoy our conversations. And like you and I have a very similar viewpoint on a lot of things, so it just really clicks.
Oh, yeah.
And we share a hell of a good name too.
That's right. Exactly. So let's get into the topic of the NDEs and maybe other things as well that's been happening to you guys. So, before we get into that, have you been catching up with the New Jersey stuff that is happening up there, those drones and things?
I did, and I was actually on Typical Skeptic Actually, it was my show, but we kind of split it between me and Typical Skeptic.
Right.
We were talking about it for a bit there, and everybody seems pretty drawn on what this is, and I think that might be exactly what it's supposed to do. If you want to talk conspiracy, there's something called Project Oblivion, which is psyops and crazy things that put into the truth of the community to separate us. And I'm hard-pressed to believe this might not be another one of those things.
Right.
And on top of that, I think it might be two things going on at once. I think it is a government project covering up an actual occurrence.
Wow.
Well, and then the other thing we've noticed here in Alberta is that there's been an extraordinary amount of cloud cover in what is like our province is known as Big Sky Country,
right?
And an excessive amount of fog and we've been in Alberta for almost 3 years.
Wow,
this is our third winter, and we've never noticed fog like this before. And this fog will just show up in just certain areas, and with it comes this frost, and it's like ice crystals, and it's not real. Like the weather is damp, like it's damp, which is not normal for this area.
Right.
It's almost like we brought Ontario weather with us.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're thinking, and this kind of goes back to the summertime, because Spinja actually was standing in the backyard, and I'll let her tell the rest of this story because it kind of leads into your question about the drones.
Right.
Well, yeah, so we were in the backyard, and we saw, and I don't know why the three of us were out there, and it was at night, and we saw this thing fly over us, and it looked really weird. Like it wasn't an airplane, and it was flying fairly low, and and I just kind of looked at it, and me being naive, but we kind of joked around like, oh, we saw UFOs. Yeah. But now that we're seeing, like footage of some, like we've seen like the crashed drones and things like that, we have more questions.
Yeah, like basically, if you've seen the pictures of the one that crashed, it's kind of oblong, and that's exactly what we saw. And we actually think it was using a translucent skin. Wow. Because it looked like a solid from one angle, and then when it went past our porch, our son and I looked at it, and I'm like, I can see through that. Like you could see the front light through the body of the craft.
Wow. So you think it's
right? Completely translucent.
So do you think it has something to do with maybe something that's made by humans, right, as well, that we're doing is like the chemtrail kind of thing, right? And then the possibly the extraterrestrial are coming in and they're saying, hey, what are you doing, kind of thing. Do you think that maybe that's a possibility too?
I think that's exactly what's about to happen. I think, this whole drone thing is, a government-controlled thing. And I think I've heard a theory a while ago from a guest on my show that that's going to be the breakdown. It's going to be basically Project Bluebeam, and something interdimensional, extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call it, is going to come in and call the bluff and go, no, we're back, we're in charge, and you guys been screwing up.
Do you think that remember how they were talking about that computer that made the prediction that there was going to be an alien invasion, and then of course Dr. Stephen Greer came out earlier during the year talking about the alien invasion, right? But it was saying that it was going to be around this time, right, December. And lo and behold, we get not alien invasion, but we get a drone invasion, right? Let's just put it to you that way. And do you think that maybe that computer kindly had it right in a sense to where it was actually giving you something that a possibility of, I don't know, maybe something dark behind the veil is happening to where it kind of knew?
I wouldn't be surprised because, I'm not hard pressed to believe that we're in a holographic simulation of sorts.
Right.
So if a computer had an algorithm smart enough, it likely could predict our future. So, yeah, I do think it is quite possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, I got a big old theory on it, but I've been actually researching this for the past three, almost 4 days now of what's going on. I've gotten a lot of really, really good leads, and of course, I've been talking on my private chat with ASDP members, and everything I said they started finding out everything I said was true. So, and I'm going to bring this out on another podcast coming up this week, but I just want to make sure that I'm hitting at least 90% of it before I throw it out there. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're kind of putting your name on it, and it's like if you don't get it kind of close, it's kind of hard to even say talk about conspiracies in a sense. But when the evidence proves otherwise, that what exactly is happening, then we start figuring out, all right, yeah, maybe this is the way it's going, 90% of the time, instead of kind of 20-30 or 20-80 or whatever. At least you're giving at least the majority of the information that needs to be heard, not the other stuff. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, like, do you think that maybe they did all this drone stuff to kind of throw you off on something else that's happening in the background?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what she was kind of alluding to with the fog. Like, I think there is something going on in our atmosphere, like the abnormal amount of aurora borealis seen around the world. Like, they're called the Northern Lights, but they've been seen around the world.
Right.
And, right. I seriously think there is a lot going on in our skies right now. Like, there's the fact that the magnetic North Pole has never been further from the geographic North Pole, and a lot of people think the Earth is about to flip or is, right? So if that were happening where our magnetic alignment is changing within the universe, you have to wonder what that's going to do in the astrological sense, right? It's probably going to cause some anomalous behavior of things like the Northern Lights and what we come into contact with and what can access us, because the entire access to the planet has changed magnetically.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. Yeah.
So you have to hide that. So you have to chemtrail the hell out of us. You have to cause distraction. You have to send drones. You have to cover that up with something, because everybody has a phone now, and everybody wants to know what the hell is going on.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's a far-fetched thought to think that it is a grand cover-up of something real that is going on, right? And I sincerely think that's what's going to happen, is they're going to push with their narrative too far, and something interdimensional, extraterrestrial, angelic even, is going to step in.
Right. I mean, and then you start asking, yourself, like, why though? You know what I mean? Why? And that's the question we have all been looking for. Is the why?
Yeah.
Is the why part, right? But I don't know. That goes like real deep, man. That's how I see that, because you're right. The Northern Lights, they're starting to spread way down here in the States now. We're seeing things that we've never seen before, right? And could it be possible those chemtrails are actually making it's pushing that this way in a sense, or maybe contacting the Northern Lights somehow, and it just shooting it all in this area to, I would say like maybe like a cloud of some sort and kind of block whatever is up there so we can't see past that? I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of thinking too much.
No, I think you're dead on it. That's kind of the rabbit hole I've been down on it. That's the direction I've been looking as well.
Wow. Well, okay, let's go ahead and talk about what happened to you guys. All right. So I don't know. Do you have separate stories or is it together?
It's kind of a dance because it intertwines.
Okay. Well, let's start with you. Let's go.
So it started off. It was Monday morning, November 18th. I was working night shift. I'm an industrial sewing machine operator, and I was on my way home, and it was snowing, and it's snowing quite heavy. And Alberta isn't exactly on top of plowing the roads, I have to say.
Wow.
And so I was on my way home in our Ram 1500, and which is a truck, and I had the 4-wheel drive on, and I was doing a speed that I wasn't exactly. I felt I was going a little fast, but the roads were straight, so I just stayed vigilant. And there was a vehicle coming up behind me. It was approaching pretty quickly, and it was making me a little nervous because it's like, no, just because I'm driving like a pickup truck with 4-wheel drive, I'm not invincible. A lot of people think you have 4-wheel drive in the snow and you're invincible, and no, you're not.
Right.
And so I made the decision. I actually heard, it's going to sound crazy, but I heard my deceased mother's voice tell me to slow down. And so I slowed down, and I was going to turn right onto a side road so that I could let this individual pass safely, because I knew they were going to pass me anyway. And as I was slowing down to turn, this vehicle ran through a stop sign and slid across 2 lanes of traffic and slammed into my truck.
Wow.
If I hadn't have slowed down, I don't think we'd be having this conversation right now.
Wow.
So the truck was totaled. I ended up with whiplash, but all in all, my injuries could have been a lot worse.
Wow.
And so that was a little stressful, to say the least. And then on Wednesday, I got a much anticipated phone call from my lawyer. I'm actually in a legal battle right now with my sibling, who had our father write me out of the will at the end, and he had dementia, and
right.
So basically my sibling manipulated a sick individual, and so I hired a lawyer to contest it, and it's taken a long time, and so we finally got this phone call, and he's just getting to the juicy part, and I will let Don tell his portion.
Yeah, and I am going to backstep by about 10 minutes before the phone call. I actually love to cook. It was what my original career idea was. Is like even in grade 9, the high school I went to had a culinary arts program,
right? And
I just took to it. So she's not shy about asking me to make her something to eat. We'd both had a long day at work,
right?
And a really rough week, right? So she's like, "Would you make me something to eat?" And I got up and I went to the kitchen to make something to eat, and I got there and I just felt like I was kind of outside of myself. I felt very abnormal. I was not within my being. It was just like, I don't feel right is the long and the short of it.
Right.
And I come back into the bedroom, and I like, I'm really sorry. There's still some pizza from the night before out there. I gotta lay down here, because I literally felt as though I was kind of only half in and out of my body. I really couldn't figure out what this sensation was. But I'm like, okay, I'm just going to chill out. I'm okay.
Right.
And then the phone rings. And we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this legal battle. And my anxiety level is raising at the same time. And all of a sudden, my heart, I could literally put my fingers on my shirt and feel my heart coming through the fabric.
Right.
Like, it was just like, whomp, 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 whomp. And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And then my fingers on my left hand started to go numb, and my face started to tingle, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Right?
And she's on speakerphone with the lawyer in the thick of it. We've been waiting 3 years for this, and I'm like, I'm really sorry. I think I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
And she's like, excuse me? And I'm like, I think I'm dying. And she's like, oh, my God, tells the lawyer, like, of course, I got to go, right? And the lawyer's like, yeah, go, call 911. And so they hang up, and she immediately calls 911, and I'm getting woozy and, like,
lightheaded.
It's just squeezing in my chest, like it's just got me, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And the EMT the first responder was a fire truck lady, and she comes in and she, like, immediately, I'm fairly good read at people. I talk to people. I know pantomimes fairly well.
Right.
She is nervous immediately when she starts taking my vitals. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's not relaxing at all. And then an actual EMT shows up, and they hook me up with all the diodes and whatnot to my bits to, see what's going on.
Right.
And the machine is reading that I'm not having a heart attack, but there's something definitely irregular going on, and my heart rate and blood pressure keeps dropping. Now, I'm going to kind of sidetrack here for a second, because the machine also identified that I have a pacemaker, which I do not.
Wow.
Right? So I don't know. That's a whole other, maybe there's an alien implant side road that I'm still investigating.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
So they've got me hooked up to this thing, and, like, my heart rate and blood pressure just keep dropping. So they're like, okay, shot of nitro. Nothing. Heart rate's still getting, like, not doing well. Bam, another shot of nitro. Nothing. They're like, okay, we have to alleviate this muscle tension. There's something going on in his heart.
Right.
So they hit me with 2.5 milligrams of morphine.
Oh, wow.
Right? And this causes an adverse reaction with whatever is going on inside of me.
Yeah.
And this next part gets very descriptive, because I felt as though I was going to be sick. And then I felt as though there was a balloon being, like, expanded in my head.
Right.
And then I felt like I was fading, and I was getting really nervous. And I'm like, no, I'm fighting this. No, like, I'm trying not to lose consciousness. I'm trying not to die. I'm fighting for my life. And, like, I'm looking at my wife, I'm looking at the paramedic, and I know I'm going.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of lay back, and I'm like, I heard something in my head go, it's okay, just for a minute. And I was like, okay. And Donald, I let go.
Wow.
And my wife's caught my hand. And what I experienced next, I felt as though I was no longer in a human form. I felt like I was a plasmic being that was just warm, gelatinous energy. And I was being welcomed home to the most wonderful emotional sensation I have experienced in my entire life. And I've watched both my kids be born.
Oh,
the
wow.
sound in my head was so lyrical, it wasn't even a song. It was just the most beautiful thing I have ever heard.
Was it like a harmony?
And
like some sort of a harmony?
It really was. Like, everything in my head was harmonic, exactly.
Wow.
The frequency of everything in my reality was perfect, and I was about to become part of this orange and yellow glow that was in front of me. And I was slowly becoming this.
Wow.
And then almost like a Walmart loudspeaker, and
Let me,
yeah.
from my, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
So I was, and in the meantime, I was holding his hand and I was watching him, and and like everything was happening, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Like, seriously, we're just about to get the information about, our future. Things are going to be good, like our home is like imminent. Like, we have this dream of building or acquiring a homestead, like, and starting to work for ourselves. And like, we've got so many of these dreams, and when my inheritance comes through, it's going to happen. Like, we have struggled for so long. Like, we've gone through homelessness, we've gone through joblessness, like, just been put right through the frickin' ringer, and things are about to get really good. Yeah. And I'm thinking this, and I'm like, really? Like, no, you're not doing this. And so, and I was ranting at him, and I looked down at him, and his eyes were starting to roll into the back of his head. And I closed my eyes, and I saw him. It was foggy, but I saw the orangey yellow glow, and I saw him walking towards it, and I saw this fog, and like just enveloping him, and I'm like, oh, and I screamed at him in my head,
right?
Don't you fucking dare!
Right.
And this is where it gets even crazier, Donald. That is exactly what snapped me back to consciousness. That Walmart loudspeaker that I heard was her saying, "Don't you effing dare."
Wow.
And that was the second I started to blink and I came back to consciousness.
Wow.
And apparently had the most shit-eating grin that I had cheated death again on my face, that she almost wanted to put me back.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. But still, I mean, to hear that and to bring you back to consciousness when you were going into a different, let's just say, realm or different direction, and just to hear her voice, and you saying, well, but then you heard that voice before that saying, it's okay, right? Don't worry, you're okay. And that's the strange part about the NDEs, and then, so after that, you came back, and then or you were still kind of in and out.
No, I came back and I was like back fully conscious and aware, and they proceeded to take me to the hospital.
Right.
And this is where the medical part of this gets kind of weird, because I'd never even heard of this. What they found after a night in the hospital and multiple bags of IV and so much blood, I could have started my own donation center.
Wow.
Apparently what it is hypertension and peritonitis. Yeah, peritonitis, which is an inflammation of the lining around your vital organs. And mine became so inflamed that it started to restrict my circulatory system, which caused my body to think, oh, we're having a heart attack.
Right.
So it starts going through the motions of having a heart attack.
Wow. So it was basically squeezing you, basically. Your internals were kind of squeezing themselves. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's a lining around each of your vital organs.
Right.
And that itself, I didn't know, but it can become inflamed, and mine became so inflamed that it was pushing on my circulatory system and causing me to black out.
Oh, it's like almost like being choked out in a sense, to where your blood flow stops to the brain, like when they do it through the neck and stuff like that. But just temporarily when they do those things, that's actually really dangerous when people do that. I don't recommend to do that to anybody. Anyway, okay, so keep going. And then so you're back, and they tell you exactly what's wrong. So they start giving you medications for that as well, or what?
No, that's where this is the Canadian healthcare system. And, we were talking about the differences between what you're told about Canada and what you what's real.
Right.
I was asked, hey, how do you feel? And I'm like, well, I don't feel like I'm dying anymore. And they're like, great, you're good to go home. We'll keep doing some tests and let you know. If you Google peritonitis, it can be fatal. They're still just, well, I don't have a CAT scan until January, but they're basically still running tests trying to find out what is going on inside of me. But
Right.
every person that's independent of the medical profession that knows what they're talking about is like, what the hell are you doing out of the hospital?
Right. So you were still in a dangerous situation. And let me ask you something. While you were under, and you said you saw that sort of light of some sort, right? You were kind of feeling the energy and everything. What exactly were you seeing besides the energy, or like did you have the out of body to where you can see your body from below, or you were just kind of like maybe your body was let's just say your spirit of some sort, the electrical part of it was starting to blend in with everything around everything, you know what I mean, around the universe. In other words, you start getting connected to everything. Is that how the feeling you got?
I do believe, I think that's about the best definition that I could possibly come up with. It really did feel like I was, myself, I used the word source. I felt like I was returning to the source of everything. I was going home.
Wow.
It was the most welcoming, emotionally gratifying experience I've ever experienced in this reality.
Wow.
Like, and we kind of joke now because I picked her over that.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
It was literally her voice that I choose over that feeling of home.
Well, you weren't,
because I'm not done with this one.
Exactly. I was just going to say, you weren't ready yet. You know, it was, you're not done yet. So maybe you have a lot more things to do and together and, you know, just, because you guys are a team pretty much, you know, with everything you do. And it's kind of hard to have that separation as far as that part. And of course it was no fault of yours. It was something health wise. Now, did they ever tell you exactly what caused that?
No, I'm still waiting for an MRI in January. It's basically just, I have a friend that's a medical researcher, and he's very well educated, and that's where I go to get a lot of my advice. And he's like, make sure she constantly knows what's going on with you at every moment you're together.
Yeah.
Because it could flare up again and happen again. So it's really just watch what agitates it and wait for the test results, because it could be pancreatic, it could be my gallbladder, it could be a tear in something. They really don't know yet.
Right.
And I just have to watch for what agitates it so I don't have another episode.
Now, let me ask Spinja here. When he was going through that, and you said you closed your eyes and you could see him, is that, do you meditate like normally, like maybe some yoga or any kind of meditation to kind of put yourself there, or is it just something that just happens simultaneously?
I have meditated before, and it's funny that you mentioned it, because I'm starting to do it more regularly. I took a Reiki course last weekend,
Good.
and so that's part of my new journey. But when this happened, no, like I didn't meditate on a regular basis.
Right.
I do. I mean, I've had people tell me that I'm a medium. I do connect like with my deceased parents all the time, and actually my boss's mom, I can connect with her as well.
Wow.
So it's not a big stretch for me to accept that this happened.
Right.
I was also with my mom when she passed away. This actually wasn't the first time that I was in this place. I was holding her hand, and but with her, everything went dark.
Wow.
And then It was like the blackest black I'd ever seen. And then suddenly I got a shot of, it just felt like I got a shot of oxygen. Like it was just the cleanest, freshest air I'd ever breathed. And I opened my eyes and she was gone.
Wow.
And so I think what happened this time was that I was able to go with Don, but I was allowed to see this time. And I knew what was happening. I could feel his leaning into it, and that's why I screamed at him in my head.
Right.
Because I was afraid, because I knew that once he got sucked in, he wasn't coming back.
Right.
And the other part he didn't mention, he's like, "Did you yell at me?"
Yeah.
I bet.
Not verbally. and he actually asked me what, like, he said, did you say those words to me? I'm like, I did in my head.
Wow.
And the whole, it actually makes me understand more, like, because she told me the story about her mom before what happened to me ever happened.
Right.
And Dolores Cannon, I've listened to a lot of her information. She often says, like, you can, through hypnosis or altered states of consciousness, you can go back to different stages of your conscious existence, right? But you're not allowed to go all the way back to source, because if you did, you'd never want to come back.
Right.
It's that wonderful. It's that much like home. It's where we came from. It's where we belong. It's where every bit of information that makes me, and you actually comes from.
Right. Wow.
Right?
Wow.
It's all the original source, and that's where I believe I was going back. And that's just my understanding of it. I'm not saying that's what it is.
You know, I've met, well, I have a friend too, and I've met other people that are like Spinja, the same way. They, something throughout their lifetime, even the people that I know throughout lifetime, I've grew up with them as teenagers until today. And they've always had this little special little gift that I can remember when talking to these friends of mine, and they would say, you know, little things that would be about somebody or something, right, that was going to happen or whatever. And, you know, back in the day, in the teenager, I didn't really think about it. But now that we're grown adults and they can actually see things, I talk to them, they're mediums now. And it's something, in other words, what I'm trying to say here, something was telling them from the very beginning that you have this special gift, but it takes a little while before you grasp it and embrace it, right? Because not everybody will embrace it right away. It's because it can be a scary thing to some folks. And so when you get that chakra, right, that third eye that opens up for you, and you get that consciousness awareness that starts happening, something fires up in your body to where you're able to connect and contact, like Spinja just did you when that was happening at that direct moment. In other words, it was a direct moment of contact spiritually, in a sense. But now that you have that, and then this has happened to you, now you're starting to go into meditation. Things are starting to open up for you. And I think that, me personally, just by what you just said, it's the same things happening to you that has happened to 2 or 3 of my friends, even people that I've just met that are mediums as well. And I'm not saying you're a medium or anything like that, but some people do have that connection and are able to pull themselves into somebody else's kind of, let's just say, like an aura of some sort, and you're able to connect with them right away, and you're able to tell the stories or just something that's coming into the future or something from the past, or maybe to connect with people that have departed. And I think that's what you have grasped and embraced already, because now you're starting to go forward. Is that pretty close?
I agree. I absolutely agree, Donald. And it's curious that you mentioned about your friends and seeing them. My best friend, like we've known each other since we were like 10. She knew. She saw me. Like she actually confessed to me years later, like when we were adults. She used to ask me questions about things and wouldn't tell me. Like she would just ask me these questions, and I would give her an answer, and it would happen. Even like with her and her husband, it's kind of funny. Her husband was my grade 8 boyfriend.
Right.
But the three of us were always really close. And they would get into disagreements about something that would happen in the past. And so they're like, all right, well, we're going to call Spinja and get her to settle it because she can remember.
Right.
But now I'm starting to question, can I remember, or I'm as I learn more and get more acquainted with the community and hearing more about people's experiences, I'm starting to wonder about remote viewing. If I can do that, I feel like there are times like when my friends would ask me a question about what happened in the past.
Right.
I could close my eyes and I could actually go back,
right.
to, like in my mind, I could go back to that moment where it all happened and who said what and all of that. And I've been able to do that my whole life, but I just didn't know that it's potentially a gift.
Yeah, and believe me, I know exactly what you're talking about. The only reason I'm telling you is because I'm the same person. Okay, I know, but my thing is that I don't use it. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't use it or anything like that. But
yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking exactly because I almost can envision and see things. And it's not my mind playing tricks on me or making up stories. It's things that are actually have happened or when you, like, let's just say like an unsolved mysteries you're watching on TV or just something that's happened on the news and you say, okay, this person did it, or you can pretty much see exactly what happened in your mind, and it's crazy. And it's not like you're playing tricks, but maybe 6 months later to a year, you find out that's exactly what happened. You just didn't say anything, right? Because it's just something that about people that are mediums or that can actually do this have a connection, but how do you get people to believe you? Then that's the thing. And that's where you have to put yourself in the situation to where, do I jump into this world or I don't? Because you can be ridiculed, just like we are with UFOs and our tinfoil hats and things like that. But like where you're at, I know because I'm there. It's just that I can't use it. In other words, for me, I'm not afraid of it. It's just that I think I have a different plan on what I'm supposed to be doing as far as helping people, and I think by the ufology and the cases that I've talked to people and they call me and they cry to me, and I help them through these things through the extraterrestrial visitations and things this way. And this is how I use that gift. Put it to that way. But as far as you, yes, I'm glad that you're embracing it and looking forward to see maybe how you can possibly help more people. Is that how you feel? I
am like so excited about this. I'm unwrapping my gift right now, and it's happening in baby steps. Like, first of all, I'm starting with acknowledging, like, Don is the one that's pointed out to me, like, you've been doing this all along,
right?
And so that. Even that has taken a minute for me to wrap my head around.
Right.
But no, like I am super stoked because, you know, like I took the Reiki course because I wanted to help Don.
Right.
It was part of my awakening and part of my deep dive. I was checking out different health modalities, like healing modalities, because he's in chronic pain, and I just, you know, like I want to try to help bring him some relief.
Right.
And you know, in doing so, knowing those modalities, I'm in a position now where I can help other people, and I am just super stoked about that. Like, and I know, like with Reiki, the more I practice it, like, yes, it's going to benefit the people that are getting the treatments, but it's also going to open things up more for me.
Exactly.
And it's happening gradually and in baby steps. And I'm super stoked about the future. I'm not quite sure where it's going to lead me. Like, I do enjoy teaching, so I might end up teaching it. You know, like even like spinning yarn. You know, like I'm seeing like teacher / healer in the future,
right?
And that's how I'm I'm going to help the world. Like, that's my intention.
There's endless possibilities, really, into that note right there. And really, all you have to do, you and anybody, even Don, anybody out there that's listening to the show, I mean, just the positivity that you put out there, whatever you put out there, you get it back, and it's not like you're doing it just to get it back. It's just the good that you do for people always comes back in return, and gives you more gifts in a sense that way. We'll just say it that way. But, but it's like, let me ask Don here. Don, now that you've experienced this, and I know you don't want to experience it anytime soon right now, but if the day was to come again later in life or whatever, are you afraid of this, or now you can kind of embrace it to say, okay, I'll rock and roll. You know what I mean?
I'm going to go backwards here for a second. This is actually about my 7th NDE.
Oh, hell. Okay.
I've been electrocuted by 920 volts. I've drowned twice. I've OD'd. I've had a near-fatal motorcycle accident. Like, my life kind of sounds like a really long version of Final Destination.
Wow.
When you listen to me tell it. But this last one is the first one that I cognitively remember what happened during the experience.
Wow.
When I was gone.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say I fully intend on living the next 50, 60 years of my life, but I am absolutely not afraid of where I know I'm going. Because, like I said, it was like an internal hug. And I don't want to sound weird or nothing. I'm not a New Age hippie. It really felt like love.
Right. Yeah.
Like pure adulterated love being pumped into every bit of my energy.
Wow. And I believe that because, I mean, that's all you hear most NDEs, and that's like 90% of most NDEs. That's exactly what happens, But as far as you, brother, I think Spinja's going to have to get you like bumper guards like they have in bowling, because we don't need you to be getting into any more accidents, man. You only have 9. You only got 9 lives. I think you've used about 6 already, so you only got 3.
I've been checking through them, and I haven't hit 50 yet. I slow down.
Well, and he's starting to try to take me with him.
Oh, no. Yeah. That's make sure those airbags are working really well in your vehicles for sure. But guys, thank you so much. I have to come to the end of the show already, but is there anything you guys would like to tell the folks out there that are listening right now about NDEs, the experiences that you've had, before we close out here?
I'd like to say, to anybody that's listening and questioning, if they have gifts or not, don't dismiss it, because, that's, Don and I joke around, about the UFO, and, I'm pretty naive. Like, I had a very sheltered life growing up, and so, the joke is, hi, I saw a UFO. And so I've been downplaying my gifts, and I'm only really starting to realize, like, wait a minute, like, I've been doing this for a very long time. So I want to say that to anybody that's listening, don't dismiss, don't downplay. There is nothing special about me. We all are. So
nice.
Just go with it. Believe in yourself. That's
good job. Nice. I like that.
Me,
go ahead, Don.
For me, I guess I would just like to leave on an intelligent quote and say, learn to understand your emotional frequency, and you'll learn to understand how to control your reality.
Right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Yeah, man. It's just, it's when you go through something traumatic like that, especially both of you guys, it was traumatic on both sides, really, in reality, but you learn to get through it, and you're still getting through it, but you've learned to embrace it, and now it's for you to get better, of course, your health wise, and then of course for Spinja to keep moving forward, and you guys working as a team and working together. Where can people find you, by the way?
I have my YouTube channel. It's Don Rogers at March 4th Productions, and you can find me also. I have my show, The After Dark Show, and it is on Forbidden Knowledge Network, and that's on all audio platforms.
Right on, right on.
As for me, I'm just hanging out on Facebook these days. Like I'm kind of in and out, but yeah, if you want to follow me on Facebook or send me a message, I just ask, please be more than hi. Just tell me who you are and you know.
Right on. Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll throw links after the show to you guys' shows and your social media platforms, and that way people can find you and maybe talk to you one-on-one, you know, if they got an issue, or maybe, I don't know, just connect. Sometimes you have to just connect with people and just... Go ahead.
Yeah, like if anybody wants to compare notes or whatever, I mean, I will absolutely own that I am a newbie and I don't have a whole lot of teaching to do. But if you have questions and you want to compare notes, then I'm happy to do that.
Right on. All right. Perfect. Okay, so like I said, thank you guys so much for being on the show today. I know we were trying, our scheduling was kind of messed up, but it's okay. We still got it done. And, I really enjoyed y'all's conversation. Yeah, I love you guys, both of you guys. I know you're excellent, beautiful people, and you're just trying to make it in this world like I am as well. But, a lot of things do happen, and we are involved in a big organization. And as far as like the ufology, the mysterious, the unknown, things like that, to where, people like us, I think we are pretty important folks, man, as far as like citizen ufologists, even just being who we are. To help others. And I just want to thank you, both of you guys, for being on the show today. A lot of amazing content and information you gave to the show today, and I hope to have you back on soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donald.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you after a while. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Yep.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Thank you, man. It was this was an amazing show, and I hope you guys really enjoyed the content that's coming out here. And if you want to follow them, it's you'll see where it says all my links, and then I'm going to add links to their pages as well, so you can kind of get in contact with them if you have any questions, anything like that about what we talked about today, and maybe just memories, or maybe you've had similar memories that have happened as well. But the great folks, Don Rogers, Canadian Spinja, they're out of Canada, right? And, they're great people. I'm going to send them my fourth film as soon as I get it done. They get excited when they see my films. Well, the last one will be coming out here soon. Remember, watch the middle, all three right now on Amazon Prime. I really appreciate that. Give me a thumbs up on all those films. Of course, the middle part 4 will be coming out next year, middle of next year, somewhere around there. You'll be seeing it pop up on Amazon Prime. And then, of course, we're just going to keep on going for it, right? Hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. Please like, share, give us a thumbs up on any social media platforms you see this podcast on. Hey, we're on 28 platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you can even ask Alexa, CastBox, Google's no longer there, I don't think so. But, there's a bunch out there, Apple Podcast, everything's out there. Everything's out there. You'll catch Alien Strand Podcast. Anyway, until then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening, and have yourselves a good night.
CE5, an extraterrestrial contact. Download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.